Please apprehend all those who are connected with corruption and bribes, irrespective of their positions or the parties they belong to. Return the money that was robbed from us. Commence investigations. We propose to appoint another bribery commission if one bribery commission is not sufficient. Take quick decisions and show the people who the rogues and who the good people are. Late Venerable Madhulwave Sobhitera. Good evening and welcome. This is Face the Nation. Tomorrow marks an important day in the Sri Lankan calendar. The first death anniversary of late Venerable Madhulwave Sobhitera. He championed change, he took on a dictatorial regime and brought in the change required in the island nation. On the 8th of January 2015, there was change as he envisaged. Is his teachings, his advice taken into account today, in today's context? Is the government practicing good governance? And is the bribery commission doing their role? Are the rogues behind bars? Our topic of discussion today is good governance and the challenges that lie ahead. Let me introduce you our panelists this evening. Ms. Lakshan Dias, Chairman of Transparency International Sri Lanka. Good evening and nice to have you on board, Lakshan. Also joining us this evening after a lapse of a few months. Nice to have him on board as usual. Senior Attorney at Law, Mr. Govind Ashri. Nice to have you on board,
Thank you.
Mr. Ashri. What were you up to the last few weeks?
Here and there.
Here and there. Looking forward to grilling you on the independent nature of the commissions that have been established following the government took over office on the 8th of January. All joining us this evening is Mr. Rusiripala Tennakon, as a public interest activist, have been very vocal during the last couple of years, 1.5 years or so, as far as the bond scam is concerned. But tonight he'll be basically talking to us about what good governance and the challenges that lie ahead as far as the present regime is concerned. So let's start off tonight's show with Mr. Rusiripala Tennakon, our public interest activist, who's joining us this evening on Face the Nation. Mr. Tennakon, interestingly, what was preached by Madhulwave Venerable Sobhitera is yet to be seen, unfortunately, following the 8th of January elections in the island. What went wrong? And what challenges do we really have to face in the near future? The time starts now.
Yes. I think as you mentioned in your introduction, tomorrow is an important day in the recent history of this country. We are commemorating a legend of our society in the present times, Most Venerable Madhulwave Sobhitera's first death anniversary. Madhulwave Sobhitera goes into history in this country for teaching the people how to forget the fear and go forward. He managed to give leadership to a society, a fear-stricken society, a hopeless society at that, and at a very crucial juncture where people were thinking which direction to go. And he started this campaign from a long time, and he wanted to give leadership to it fearlessly, risking his life, risking many other things that anyone else would have expected to be faced during a regime of that nature that existed then. So, Venerable Sobhitera's role in changing the society in this country is a historic one. It cannot be there is no replacement for him, it looks like, because after his demise, after he passed away, things which otherwise he could have given leadership to have gone rather astray, and people have become hopeless once again. And from the role of the society, from the side of the people, there is absolutely no movement in this country today to rise up, stand up and ask and demand what really we want, what really we are looking forward to, what really we want from the government. Today we are waiting for things to happen. This was not the way that Reverend Sobita preached. He gave the leadership. He wanted the people to come to the front. He wanted the people to take the leadership. Today that movement has gone silent.
Mr. Nakon, who should be held responsible? Venerable Sobitero was an individual who championed change in Sri Lanka. Who should be held responsible?
Venerable Sobitero gave leadership to that movement by incorporating several other organizations, and that was the culmination of a long spell of work, dedicated work that he did in this country, starting from a temperance movement, starting from supporting the normal general strikes where where people rose up to their rights and stood up. Reverend Sobita was there. So that leadership was given by him with a selected set of people with whom he associated, and an organization which he formed at his direction. But today I don't see any active role being played by that organization itself. The movement for a just society, national movement for a just society that he created, today doesn't seem to exist.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rusapal Tanakon, public interest activist, joining us this evening on the show. We now focus our attention on Mr. Gomin Dashri, senior attorney at law. Ms. Dashri, one of the promises that was made by the present regime was to bring in the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. The amendment was brought in with the promise of making independent commissions effective. However, there seems to be problems with independent commissions at present. Example, the Bribery Commission of Sri Lanka. You see the Director General of the Bribery Commission resigning. What is happening with the independence? How effective is the Bribery Commission of the country at present?
Well, the 19th Amendment heralded these independent commissions, and there was great hope and expectation that they would be clean, that they would be run by independent people, that they would be totally unbiased. Well, have those things happened? Has anything happened? All we know is there is a constitutional council. They go around appointing people, especially the Bribery Commission, and we have 3 eminent people appointed as bribery commissioners. Now that's the summit organization that is to tackle bribery and corruption in this country. Instead, we find the officer who works under their directions and control, namely Mrs. Dias, being dislodged from her position. Now it's a very sad state of affairs, because if something was happening, even that we don't hear anymore. So I don't know whether Bribery and Commission has come to a virtual halt because of the legislation. Now look at the Bribery Commission provisions. You have to appoint a retired Supreme Court judge as the chairman. Now a person retires from the Supreme Court at the age of 65. Now thereafter, after a few years, maybe 5-6 years, he is appointed to the commission as the commissioner, the chief commissioner, the prime commissioner. Now, can you expect a man at 70 to be dynamic, to follow all these rogues and racketeers?
But you don't want an inexperienced individual running the organization in question as well, Mr. Dashri.
My problem is that you have 3 people. Have you heard? What have they done? Have you heard of them? You have heard at least of Mrs. Dias been there pushing the thing through and then resigning. The whole thing has been focused on her. But look at all the commissions, look at any single commission. Have they done any work at all? You have Bribery and Corruption Committee. Has any evidence been placed before any court of law? Look, you're from Maharaja organization. Long ago there was a gentleman by the name of Ian Vikramanayaka. He created so much of fear and hate, fear in the whole society. A one-man outfit was able to control commissions, was able to bring bribery and corruption to a virtual halt, because he went after the big sharks. These people, what have they done? Can you tell me a single case, Shamir, where evidence has been led? Now 2 years have passed, or nearly 2 years, 1 year and 10 months, nothing has happened. So I would say that the entire 19th Amendment is a dreadful failure because they have not been able to get off the ground at all. Today, what has happened is everybody knows that this, but then even say the so-called famous Sri Lanka's Watergate, what I call the Central Gate incident, do you think anything will come? I mean, it's the media, it's people like you, it is the public who brought the thing to this height.
But who is at fault, Mr. Dashri? Because you tend to point the finger at the Bribery Commission of Sri Lanka. Is it the Bribery Commission or is the Attorney General's Department which should be held responsible?
Primarily both, because Bribery Commission's department or the commission has to function effectively. They have to bring people to trial. Then those trials have to be prosecuted. That is where the fault is. The Attorney General's department, if there are able people, but they are overburdened with work. But
that is not an excuse,
that is not an excuse at all. They have to get them going. But can you tell me a single case that they have today brought any big shark into this corruption net? I mean, they are not carrying out their functions at all. I'm not saying all. I know there was a commission once, the Udulagama Commission, there was a council, state council, Yasanta Kodagoda. I remember very well, I appeared in that case. He prosecuted nearly 17 cases in a period of 13 months. Some of the biggest cases in Sri Lanka, for example, the Mutur case, the children being killed in an orphanage, the 5 students killed in Trincomalee, all those cases came to an end. There's final reports out. But why is it that today these cases are just not getting off the ground? You must have courts that function, courts that sit day to day or at least 3 days a week, continuously. Because these things can't be, we can't allow them.
Are you suggesting there are lapses in the judicial system in the country?
There are many lapses. The main lapse is nothing is being done by the people who have authority. I mean, look at today, some of the biggest scoundrels still hold high office, and there's political patronage. But on the other hand, if some poor man is faulted, he'll be suspended right away. But when you are big names, you don't get any kind of disciplinary action against you. You are favored animal. So in this game, you must have no such discrimination. You must prosecute fast because a man must be acquitted if he is merely charged falsely. There's nothing happening. The question is, as Mr. Ruzirpal said, they came in with, these good governance kids came in with a lot of good intentions, but they have been a total failure because they don't know how to get it going. And they can't do it because the government has become very weak, being a two-party coalition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Govind Dashri, Senior Attorney at Law, joining us this evening on the show. I now move my attention to Mr. Lakshan Das, who is also an Attorney at Law and also Chairman of Transparency International Sri Lanka. Mr. Das, interestingly, you have 2 individuals seated on to your left who are criticizing the present regime, saying that not enough. Whatever they're doing right now is not enough. Good governance is not in practice. There seems to be a tough run in the next few months or next few years or so. What is your opinion? Are you satisfied the way in which this government has taken the baton and is running forward? Or have they missed the baton and are they running without the baton in their hands now?
I don't think so. I support certain achievements already, they have achieved. And also I support the decision of Dilrusha Das Abeysinga to resign. When the chief executive officer of the country accused a very senior officer of the country of political maneuvering, and what else she can do? I went into public the next morning when I heard it. I said she should resign. Not only her, all 3 commissioners should resign. Not only commissioners, all the entire the Constitutional Council should resign. The President has no right to accuse independent committee. Independent commissions are not belongs to President but belongs to us, the people. The 19th Amendment given these commissions to us, and it was taken from the President and given to us. He has no role to accuse any of this commission. he really bad mouthing on the whole thing. So I think there's nothing more than that Wickremesinghe can do other than to resign. That's number one. And I'm very happy in certain commissions, such as Human Rights Commission. I mean, they are doing a really good job. You know, it's not an easy thing with the existing staff or the staff who exist for 10 years to change overnight. But they are doing extremely hard work, full time. Dr. Deepika and other commissioners, they are doing extremely hard work to change the human rights condition of this country. So I think we have to be happy about it. And I know the three commissioners of the bribery commission, they are trying their best to change. So and in the other hand, we also have to understand what sort of pressure they undergo from the joint opposition and the rest of the parties. So when somebody is bringing into the bribery commission, they come with national flags and Singha flag and other flag, this flag, and they, they bring hundreds of lawyers into the courts when some of these big sharks are bringing into the courts. No, this is no. Now, when you say good governance, I really came here to talk about good governance. Now, in good governance, there are so many things, not only the bribery, not only the corruption, rule of law.
So you mean to say there is no rule of law in Sri Lanka?
No, of course, the rule of law is established, and it's, of course, any system there can be lapses, but rule of law, I don't see, there is a serious development from the previous regime to this regime. Rule of law is in existence, but there can be lapses. So my issue is, when it comes to the opposition, are they really coming upon good governance principles? Are they promising us as a next government something on they are going to practice on good governance? Are they coming up with declaring their assets and liabilities? Are they coming up and say that, okay, well, we do this thing and that the other thing, and on the human rights, rule of law, and various? No, they are not doing. They only try to come back to the power through the nationalism. Nothing more than that.
Lakshan, you said that, in my question to you, you said that you are happy with the government's achievement. However, you did not mention it. You said you reprimanded the bribery commission and said that the president reprimanded the bribery commission, and henceforth the Lucia Dias had to resign.
She should.
And then you said that the Human Rights Commission is an independent commission. It's up to the people to decide how the commission should act. And then you speak about the rule of law. You say the rule of law is not really in existence in a country like Sri Lanka at present. However, there is an improvement.
No.
You said there is an improvement.
Yeah, there's definitely improvement.
But my question to you is, are you satisfied with the way in which this government has moved forward?
No, I'm not talking about the government. I'm not a government spokesman. What I'm saying is,
are you satisfied? I know you're not a government spokesperson.
Yeah.
You represent.
Well, I have issues.
Body. But my question is very simple: is there good governance in Sri Lanka? Are you satisfied the way in which this government is moving forward, progressing forward?
Well, this government have issues. If you take the issue.
So you're not happy with the achievements so far?
I am happy with the achievements of the independent commissions, judiciary.
But that's for the people to decide.
Of course, yes. But these are the people's institutions as well. These are judiciary is not the government institution. The independent commission.
I'm talking about the government.
Yeah. Government, of course. In my opinion, the same old people. Half of the cabinet is the same old people, and rest is somebody is trying to. Was in the starvation for many years. So this issue is still there. This government has to. Clean up certain things within the government. That's no doubt about that. I'm not saying that they are the best government. Not. But what I'm saying is they are better than the previous government.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Lakshan Dias, Chairman of Transparency International Sri Lanka. Let me introduce you, our journalist this evening. On to my immediate right is Nadim Majid, as always, joining us this evening on the show. On to my immediate left is Sonali Vanugabadagwe, who is also an attorney at law, and on to my far left is Chaturang Haporachi, joining us tonight on the show as well. So let's start off tonight's show with Sonali.
Thanks, Shamir. Mr. Gomin Dayasri, my first question is to you. Now, tomorrow is the US presidential election, and we have two candidates that much of the world thinks people could have really selected better. However, I'd like to talk about the psyche of most Trump supporters. the allure that they see is in that anti-establishmentarianism. So my question to you is, isn't this a very dangerous trend, the anti-establishment sentiment that the Americans are feeling, and should we also worry about that here in Sri Lanka?
I think we should worry about something else also at the same time, because it is said that this is a contest between the two most unpopular candidates in the history of politics in America, and who's going to win is going to be the person who is less unpopular. Now, don't be surprised, next time's election in Sri Lanka will have that same description if things are happening this present way. It will be the two most unpopular people who will be contesting each other if the present ground is as it appears. Now, I'm rather surprised that my good friend said that, I think listening to him it was a contradiction of what he said. He started by saying all these commissions are useless, they should resign, and then he took up the position that
I didn't say so.
I heard you saying that the
commissioners of the Bribery Commission and the Constitution against the statement of the President.
You said that thing, you can't deny that.
I said
the record will have that now.
Against the President's statement, President interfered with the commissions, he have no right to do so.
No, that's a different thing. But
no, that's what I'm saying.
They should resign.
No, they should resign in protest of the President's statement and interfering, where President have no right to do so.
Okay, we'll take one from there.
Yeah, right. So let's forget all this. I mean, it's a contradiction, not worth spending time on it. Right. But the question is, as you said, we are today in a situation where we may very likely why are people anti-establishment? Why are people pro-establishment? It is because the fact that people are getting sick of politics and politicians. We are in a right royal mess, if you ask me. Because politicians have not changed. It's the same politicians that are continuing to go on. For the last 30 years, I don't see any different political culture, because if it's not there, it is their own progeny who's been presented. I mean, so are we going to live with this for the rest of our lives? We have lived with it, but are we going to put this, our next generation, into that same compartment? We have to, young people must rise, people like you all, journalists, media men. You have done a wonderful job so far. I think you are the only people who are independent. I don't say Transparency International is independent. I won't say NGOs are independent, but I will say that the media has done an excellent job so far, and far better than what lawyers have been able to do.
Ms. Asha, are you saying that Transparency International is not independent, or are you saying it's independent?
I'm saying it is not independent.
It is not independent. So I need to give an opportunity to Mr. Lakshman Das to respond to that, Mr. Ashri.
Yeah, but you didn't allow me to do
I don't know. I mean, it's none of his business to say that Transparency International is not independent. I mean, then he should come out.
Mr. Ashri can express a view. You can respond to it.
He should substantiate if he says so. I mean, I'm not. First of all, I'm not. I mean, I came as the chairman, but that I didn't have mandate to represent here. But what I'm asking, but still, it's my organization. But if Mr. Gomin Dayasri says that it's not independent, then he should come out and substantiate what we're talking about.
Very simple. You heard him before. You heard Yusirpal and me say, contradicted himself. So if you contradict yourself, what is the independence? Now, just a minute.
No, but you're talking about what you're accusing. What's the contradictory you're talking about?
I'm contradictory. You spoke about the role that the opposition has to play. Now we have a government in office. Yeah. And what is this government doing? Are they selecting people for bribery and corruption on a fair basis? Is anybody in the government? I mean, there were so many members of the government part of the last government. Are any charges brought against them? Isn't that where independence counts? Can you say that today's bribery commissioners are independent if they see all this nonsense that is happening? I'm certainly of the view that last government was rotten. But this government is all rotten. And part of the last government is this government. How is that team? Those people are never bought before. Why is my friend only talking about the opposition? Now the opposition has been defeated. Opposition may not come into office next time either. Now we have a government. And that government is acting discriminatory. Nobody from that government is. Now we have three commissions: the COPE report, we have the report of the Auditor General, and we have the report of the Central Bank. All three reports are there, And still that gentleman is holding office in the Prime Minister's office.
Mr. Nakun, what is next as far as these reports are concerned?
That is why I said next is you have to get on with the job. This is where Transparency International and them are doing nothing. They are still looking at the previous government and pointing fingers.
Mr. Nakun, yes.
Yes.
What next?
I think I would like to just touch on one thing. That what the opposition does should not deter or make any sort of obstruction to the functioning of the independent commissions in this country. If someone says that due to these demonstrations by the opposition, the commissions get sort of, they can't be on their track, I mean, that's a joke. I mean, we have not seen anybody going and manhandling the commissioners so far. Let anybody demonstrate anywhere. Who cares? The commissioners have to go on. They have a mandate. They have terms of reference specifically given to them. They have powers. What is the interruption that anyone else can bring on them? And about the resignation of this lady, I don't know, she may have her own reasons to resign, but to the best of our knowledge as members of the public, we never heard anything specifically being referred to her either by name or by position by the President. The speech, the announcement that the President made, in our opinion, was giving vent to what the people of this country was thinking at that time. It is not the President that spoke. President is there to give air to the thinking of the people of this country. Exactly what he said is correct. If these commissions cannot deliver what they have been appointed for, if they are not doing their job, the President should state that. Why should he hide? For what reason? He did the right thing at the right time. And if anybody could not tolerate that, left to them. Let them resign and go. There will be hundreds of others to take those places. This is a country with so many...
But there is no replacement yet for the post that fell vacant, Mr.
I mean, that is the politics. That's the unfortunate politics in this country. But it will be replaced. But
the question is, will the replacement be equally effective? Who is going to be the replacement? Is it going to be once again another person from the Attorney General's department? I mean, we know how the department functions presently. Very unsatisfactory. No, I mean, imagine nearly 20 months have gone. Not a single charge evidence has any iota of evidence been led in any court. Any court. And there are people who come here and say, they are doing a good job, well, fine, they must continue. And blame the opposition. Opposition is irrelevant. Not blame, they have been put in the dustbin. And that's their rightful place. But what is the government doing? Why are these organizations not pushing the government when they are doing this kind of discriminatory practices?
Mr. S, what are your thoughts on this?
I think...
Do you agree with the two gentlemen?
I totally disagree. And I mean, and also, I still stand for what I said. I was very happy with the programs that Dilruksh started. You can't overcome the whole rotten system which prevails for over 10 years in this country. And when she takes some of the present ministers, and that was the accusation, that she took some of the ministers into the books that...
But the question is very simple, Ms. Das. If an individual who has been appointed by the Constitutional Council gets deterred by a statement that was made by an individual, that person is not fit to hold that position.
This is not simple individual. The President of the country...
Still for all.
Yeah, but the President of the country, it's the most powerful position of the country, accusing an independent commission.
But
he has no right to do so.
No reference was made to...
Reference was not made, but it's very clearly any small child of this country will understand whom he referred to. He referred to very particularly to the bribery commission. I mean, this is our commission. This is independent commissions. President have no role to that. That is what we did by the 19th Amendment. 19th Amendment to take the powers of the President and give it to us, the public. It will take time. It will take few years to complete the whole task. But we are in a very early stage. So when we are in the very early stage, when the president pinpointing certain independent commissions, that is unacceptable.
I want to ask you a question,
yes.
Mr. It's a very hypothetical question. Usually on a show like this, we do not ask hypothetical questions, but I thought I'll just pose a question to you in any case. Let's say someone accuses you, let's say the head of Transparency International worldwide accuses you of some misdoing, or says that Transparency International Sri Lanka is corrupt. Would you resign?
Well, I have to, because I mean it's my personal, I mean it's my responsibility.
Even if you are not guilty?
Yeah, even after, because it's I mean I head the I'm the head of the organization, and then I should resign, and I should appoint some I mean I should allow someone to go for a audit, or go for a diagnosis.
But that opportunity was not given in this case.
Who?
By Dilrukshi Dias. Was that given?
No, but she resigned. So let anybody I mean go through the audit and find out whether she have done the job or not. I mean what I'm saying is when the president of the country is challenging the independent establishment, what else you can do?
Mr. Tennakoon, now moving the attention away from the bribery commission to other matters that are in the country now, we know that the value-added tax came into effect, and we also saw how certain attorney-at-law presented facts about how the ministers and the MPs had got their vehicles, and how they are living a luxurious life when people in the country are protesting and people in the country are being battered with day-to-day problems. We appointed these people to the parliament, but they promised us a lot of things. None of those promises have been kept, have they? Can we do anything about this? Can we only speak about this in forums like this, or is there anything that we can do?
Coming back to this VAT issue, recently I went and saw a specialist doctor in a hospital, private hospital, and I got the bill to my hand, and I see the doctor's fees, there is a 15% added to it as VAT. I thought the health sector has been exempted from VAT. We all thought about it, and what was discussed, what was debated, what was demanded, I mean has not been paid heed to. So those things are there. So unfortunately, as you rightly say, the people who have to take decisions, who have been appointed to represent us, to deliver the best for us, are doing the best for themselves. That's a very unfortunate situation.
Mr.
So
Tennakoon,
they are very clever at that.
Yes. What happened to this March 12th declaration where late Venerable Sobhita Thero was also played a pivotal role in establishing this? What happened to it?
Well, if Reverend Sobhita was living by now, I think the situation in the country would have been very much different. Very much different. This is my imagination, I don't know. I'm because having associated with him, having seen what he was professing, having followed some of his thinking, having agreed with his thinking, I feel that if he was living, things would have been different.
Sorry, Mr. Dias, you spoke about the progress that has been made by this government, and to a certain extent that is true. We've seen things like the Right to Information Bill, Right to Information Act, beg your pardon, the 19th Amendment, witness protection. Of course, there have been some controversies surrounding the OMP Act, but many people view it as a positive. Many people view it as a negative as well. That's a contentious issue, so I won't pick up on that. But you've had things like RTN. But then again, when you compare it with what was on offer on the ballot, the 100-day manifesto and the subsequent election manifestos at the general election, and you can't help but notice that a lot of those things in the 100-day plan, the preliminary things, day 4, day 5, day 7, day 15, none of these things have still been done. Something that I've noticed though upon further looking at it is that the things that have not been done, like amending the standing orders of Parliament, the National Audit Bill, are the very things that would ensure more accountability on the part of the people in Parliament. So are they, again, in spite of having made are they making progress on the easiest things to make progress on, while playing wait and see with very important legislation, very important measures that have to be taken to ensure good governance?
As I said in the beginning, I'm not the government spokesman, but I totally agree with you. There's no dispute with you. I'm not going to totally defend this government, and neither I want to throw the water with the baby. So I'm in that middle position. I'm not the representative of this government, but I fully agree with there are a lot of things that this government need to do to make sure the accountability and the governance, which we have to engage with, and also we have to criticize when you need to criticize. I mean, if you take the the central bank issue, and I totally disagree with the way it handles. That's no doubt about it. And the way they come out and say that, okay, we are going to investigate for last 10 years. No, yes, you can do last 10 years, but you have to start from this and go backwards, not start from the 2005 and come to 2015 in 10 years time. So there are issues that which I have no doubt, because I'm not a spokesman for this government, and I'm an independent person. I mean, I speak for myself. So what I'm saying is, yes, there are a lot. I mean, I know the type of people in the cabinet. I mean, they were the same old people who was in the previous government.
So you spoke about the bond scheme. Even with the bond scheme, something that I realized with the COPE investigation of the alleged bond scam is that if, as was promised in the 100 Days Manifesto, if the standing orders of Parliament had been amended to give these committees more teeth, more power, more oversight powers, then we would have seen a more effective investigation via COPE of the bond scam.
Definitely.
Why is it? I mean, amending the standing orders of Parliament takes a simple majority. You don't need a referendum. There's very little, if any, need for judicial review. A simple majority of parliamentarians can do this. It's the amendments that need to be made have already been drawn up. We've seen people have been campaigning for this even under the previous regime, and it never happened. The leader of the Liberal Party, Professor Rajiv Vijayasinghe, was campaigning for this. This was a specific grievance that he raised when he resigned from the 100-day government as well, is that no progress is being made on this. And these are the mechanisms that ensure our accountability as members of Parliament. So then I think that there might be malicious intent on the part of the people who are not making any of these changes. Would you agree with me if I say that it's done through malice?
I agree with you. I don't dispute it. I mean, I'm not here to say that this is a government with the saints. The politicians are generally like that. So what we have to do is engage with this government.
What is the responsibility of civil society organizations like Transparency International, like the March 12th Declaration Movement, like the National Movement for Just Society,
so much of other NGOs and civil society groups,
People's Intellectual Assembly? I mean, there are as many civil society groups as there are parliamentarians, probably. So what is the responsibility of civil society now in advancing these causes? Because we don't hear anyone talking about what's still left over from the 100-day manifesto. Things like the National Audit Bill have been forgotten.
No, I think National Audit Bill must come, and it's not only the politicians who really blocking it, but also the state bureaucrats, the state civil some of the ministry secretaries, so on, because they know that when the audit bill comes, who gets the problems for their corruption. So
given the resistance from the bureaucracy, is civil society doing enough to campaign for these things?
Well, civil society is doing what they can do. And if you take the example, like, okay, that if you take the Transparency International, what we did is we wanted the parliamentarian to declare their assets and the liabilities, and we drafted a legislator and given to all 225 parliamentarians to amend it and enacted it.
Mr. Tennecoon,
Mr. Thenakon, I'll quickly come back to you as well, Mr. Dias. Now, according to what Mr. Dias is saying, if someone raises an allegation and points a finger at a certain individual at an independent commission of sorts, that person should resign and let someone else carry out an investigation, or shouldn't in this case the Prime Minister also resign when it comes to the bond issue, because it comes directly under his ministry?
We have seen an unfolding drama from day one in this episode. If someone was to resign, I mean, things should have taken that shape long ago, not now. When the first bond scam came, there was enough grounds for people in responsible positions to declare their responsibility and take some necessary action. That was not done. The fault lies, the damage that they have done by not resorting to such actions has aggravated the situation, because the first bond scam, left unattended, led to a second bigger scam of the same type. Who is responsible for that loss? Who is inquiring into that? That happened only because this person was not dealt with at the right time. If that was done, he would have had no opportunity to get engaged in the second bond scam. And that was much bigger in volume, much bigger in value, and much more damaging to the country's economy.
Mr. Dias, your views on this?
No, I think I have no dispute.
You agree?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, as a citizen of this country, I have no way of saying no to that. And it was really discussed at the COPE committee, and then it was publicly, there was a public discourse on that matter. I think the rule of law has to apply on this thing, and then they must bring into the books, and then there should be a court case, and the Attorney General Department has to file indictment against these people. So that has to take place. I mean, I like the achievements of this government, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to support everything what this government doing. That's nothing like. But this is very clear. Everybody knows it's clear corruption. There's no doubt about it.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your thoughts on the first and second rounds. We go in for a short commercial break. When we come back, we delve deep into the government's progress made as far as good governance is concerned. Stay connected. Stay with Face the Nation. Welcome back. This is Face the Nation. We focus our attention on Mr. Gomin Dastri, Senior Attorney at Law, as a prelude to the third round of the show. Mr. Dastri, interestingly, in an exclusive interview with a Sunday newspaper, the President says that he is concerned about several cases that is pending right now. A is the Avantgarde Maritime Services Limited, the ship. He refers to the ship in question. Then he says the Tajuddin murder case is being suppressed at the moment. Then he says that he is very concerned about the investigations that have seized into the Dubai account in question. Now, what is going on? Who is to take action on these cases? People want to know who the culprits are, and even the President seems to be pushing for this.
It's a very interesting situation, Shamir, because the President, you must remember, is an elected President. I think he has more authority to speak for the people because he is directly appointed by the people. So that if this, as I heard it said in this meeting today at this that the commissions belong to us. It belongs to the people, and people are represented by the President, and President's words are very meaningful.
But the President seems to be very concerned about the situation right now.
No, but what the President is not doing is he is not utilizing the power that he possesses in carrying forward the very content of what he is speaking. That is the problem. I think we got to get the President on track, because if the people have lost confidence in the Prime Minister, I think I agree with Mr. Rusipala comprehensively, because the the Prime Minister could have stopped the second fraud, and now it has gone on. The second fraud has taken place. The whole thing has been unravelled. There has been a complete audit done by the General's Department, but still the offenders are flying high, talking with a lot of bravado all over the place. So I mean, that clearly shows that the Prime Minister has disqualified himself. He is shown to be a person with bias, so that he cannot in future speak on this topic.
But the United National Party could say that the people elected him as the Prime Minister of the country as well.
No, they didn't elect him as the Prime Minister. They elected him as a Member of Parliament. If you ask me, the entire selection process of the Prime Minister is totally wrong. You can't. Well, what happened to the previous Prime Minister? What happened to the previous Chief Justice? I mean, this government took over and did certain things which are totally unconstitutional. They took the opportunity of Mahinda Rajapaksa being defeated. The weakness in the man and the weakness in his party were exploited. What happened? People have lost it. His appointment is incorrect. Now, let's keep that aside. My question is, what is happening to these cases? Nothing is happening. Why is it not happening? Because the Attorney General's Department is ineffective. What I suggest is that you must now have a special prosecutor. The government must now turn to a special prosecutor in these important cases, and they must set up a court, regular courts. I don't want commissions. Commissions have been an absolute disaster.
What about the Supreme Court?
The Supreme Court is very good. I mean, I would say that one thing I stand up for this government is the Supreme Court judges are today far more independent, far more, they are thinking people. I mean, there are of course few lapses, serious lapses, like in that Kolta case. I mean, the Chief Justice's order can be attacked, and it has been attacked very brutally. But let that be. I mean, those are just isolated incidents. But fact is, the Supreme Court is very much better, the judiciary is much better. I think it was only better in my living memory was when Mr. Premadasa was alive. It was much better because he didn't interfere. Now that is a mistake that the last
Why do you need a special prosecutor if the Supreme Court...
Supreme is not a prosecutor, it's only a judge. A judge is different to a prosecutor. It's the prosecutor, the whole case lies in his hands. He can take dates, he can delay. Now delay is going to be the most dangerous thing for all this, because everything will be swept under the carpet. I mean, normally, you know...
Why isn't that the Attorney General's Department is not taking action on these cases?
That is because they want to be everybody's sweetheart. That's the problem. I mean, there are counsel who just want to play ball with this government and last government. There are counsel who do a good job of work. There are few. But that is why I say it's very difficult for public servants to play this role. Give it to a special prosecutor. That has been the practice. I'll give you examples. If you remember the famous Bandaranaike assassination case, who was the prosecutor? George Chitty. I can well tell you that during the last government, 2 or 3 very important cases, I did it for them. Sometimes a special prosecutor, sometimes a special defender. I did that. And what happened? The Attorney General's Department gave me all the support.
The President says that the Tajudeen murder case is being suppressed. Who is suppressing it?
Who is
responsible?
The people who are investigating are responsible.
Is it the Attorney General's Department or is it politicians?
No, they are of course still at, I don't think all the papers have been submitted to the Attorney General's Department in that case, but it's quite clear, according to the reports, that over 60 cases have been given to the Attorney General's Department. They have filed plaints. Now we know that there was a case against Lalit Viratunga that was filed some time ago, but after that the case is dead, dormant. Now these cases, I mean, in fairness to people like Lalit Viratunga, they must be either found guilty or exonerated. You can't keep them in this kind of state of suspense. That is because they are not interested. I'll tell you another case, the TRO case during the last government, Tamil Rehabilitation Organization. There was an excellent case. I saw all the evidence. But they never prosecuted. I don't know what has happened to that. Because after some time, people forget. Another incident, there'll be another scam and they'll be concentrating on that. So let's bring these people to book. Let's get on the fast track. Let's get activate. And that we can see a dormant, dead these departments. So now we got to look at, this government is very fortunate, Shamil. They have so many, like my good friend will tell Mr. Rujipal, they have so many good governance lawyers. I mean, now for example, Mr. Valiamuna, former, he is probably a person who might take and do this.
This government could not even get a simple VAT passed in Parliament. And you say that there are good governance lawyers in this government.
I'm not saying the government. I said there are good governance lawyers supporting this government. So I'm saying get them on board as special prosecutors, because you will have confidence in them. I mean, last government may have had confidence in me in 1 or 2 cases, but this government might have confidence in so many other able lawyers. Get their services and get going.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dayasri. I now focus my attention to Mr. Lakshan Das, Chairman of Transparency International Sri Lanka, who is also an attorney at law. Ms. Das, with regard to the actions of NGOs, including Transparency International Sri Lanka, you all always take a very reactive approach and not a proactive one. Why is that?
Well, I don't agree with you totally. I mean, when you say NGOs, there are a lot of NGOs.
Let's talk about Transparency International.
Yeah, Transparency International. We are working on RTI. One of our target is RTI, and the other one is assessed liability, and then also the open government partnership. These are 3 areas we are working.
Just 3 cases.
Yeah, 3 areas of these we are working on.
3 areas only.
RTI. Yeah, I mean that we can't take everything into our hand. We have capacities and we have limitations. But I mean, whenever necessary, we are.
So someone might say that you're pick and choosing the subjects that you all want to handle, and not the ones that has a lot of political interference.
Well,
can they say that?
NGOs cannot be like political organizations. We are not political organizations, number one. Number two, we cannot play. I mean, we cannot go into each and every issue that
you say NGOs are not political organizations. However, yes. I want to bring back a statement that was made by Chief Government Whip, Minister Lakshman Kiryala in Parliament, saying that one individual supported the UNP during the election, and henceforth we are appointing him as a chairman of a particular board. However, this individual resigned. But even making a statement like that gives leeway for people to believe that NGOs are, in fact, politicized, working for a motive.
Some can be. I mean, the individuals can politicize. I mean, if I want to take politics, of course I can do. Then I must resign from my position. That is that is how
you generalize, saying that NGOs are not politicized. Yeah, that's not the case.
Yeah, I mean, NGOs are generally not politicized, but there can be 1 or 2. I mean, you can't give blanket statements. I mean, for everybody, right? So, what I'm saying is generally we are not politicized, but we cannot take the political agendas into ours. But what we do is, if we identify an issue, okay, what we are looking at is one of the most important thing is RTI bill. We feel that by supporting and by popularizing this RTI, we can achieve certain things. And then the asset declaration and of the parliamentarian, if they can declare their assets, and if they can bring a parliamentary act on it, I mean, it's very easy to say. I mean, after 5 years, what they have earned out of during their tenure in the parliament. So there are issues. What we are looking at is long term sometimes than, I mean, fighting on a very short term issue.
Now, one of the allegations, Mr. Das, you correctly said, one of the allegations leveled at NGOs is the fact that NGOs pick and choose cases that has a long-term effect rather than a short-term effect. Why? Because funding comes gradually.
I agree with you. There's no doubt about it. Because you can't, NGOs, there are no people's movement in this country. I mean, if somebody
says that you are somewhat influenced by some section of society to earn money. Is that what you're trying to say?
Not to earn money. I mean, tell me any organization who runs without
I don't know. Tell me. You
right?
tell me.
I don't know. Right? So, to run any NGO, I mean, all these NGOs need funds. So funds are also play a very important role in any NGO, right? So, I mean, you can't sometimes, you have no budget, or sometimes you can't go away from your agreed program, right? But you can issue a statement. I mean, by issuing a statement, that's all you can do sometimes. So what we are sometimes doing, some NGOs doing, is a long-term project. It's not like, I mean, taking this issue or that issue. But some NGOs, some civil society groups, they can take freely what are the issues they want, and they can criticize, they can go to street, they can demonstrate, they can fight, they can engage with. Of course they can do. So depend on which organization. You can't take NGOs covered by a blanket said, okay, these all NGOs are same. It's a extremely diverse group of people, and some are for human rights, some are for development, some are for anti-corruption, some are for elections, some are for anti-torture or fisheries or various subjects. So they are very much confined into their own areas. But some national issues, some serious issues, we all come together and protest or air our views. So it's a very different subject.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lakshan Das. They say when you want to drag a case, go to the courts. So when NGOs need to drag a particular issue, please go to an NGO. They will make sure that the case goes on for some time, isn't it?
Maybe sometimes, I mean that's like that. I mean that's how the other political groups also doing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lakshan Das. But you said that NGOs are not political groups, but they have.
They have to be. They should not.
They should be. They're not political groups.
Yeah, I mean they should be civil society groups.
You just said
not belongs to any political
but you just said that,
party or.
They are like political groups.
They what I'm saying is even the political groups.
No, you said
they
also
like
are like political groups just now.
I'll say political groups are like that.
Okay, thank you very much.
I don't know. I not
for your thoughts. Properly. With all humility, Mr. Lakshan Das, of course, attorney at law, works quite tremendously to to appear on cases on behalf of the general public of the country. Our questions to you are drawn purely, Mr. Das, based on good governance, role of the NGOs. So there's nothing personal here, but we need to bring out to light what the people at home would be seated and looking and listening to you. They would want to know what the roles of NGOs are in the context of good governance in the country.
Shamir, can I say one word?
Yes,
now,
very quickly.
I'm not a person who supports the role of the NGOs. I'm a person who feels we must have more people movements, which we don't have. I mean, we can say this, I'm a this activist, and this, doing this and that. But actually, we lost people movements in this country. We never had, right? I mean, maybe after Surya Mal movement, there was no any people movements in this country. What we have is NGOs. NGOs cannot drive.
Thank you very much, Mr. Das. You say that I don't like NGOs. My question to you would be, then how come you are the head of an NGO group in Sri Lanka? However, you don't have to answer that question. Moving on to Mr. Risibharathanakul. Mr. Thanakul, interestingly, good governance plays a big role in a country like Sri Lanka. 2009, we were able to end the war. We had an opportunity to rebuild ourselves. We never did. 2004, following the end of the tsunami, we had an opportunity again to rebuild the nation. We did not even capitalize on that. 2015, there was change in Sri Lanka on the 8th of January. There is now time for us to rebuild again. Are we doing it? Are the politicians in Sri Lanka have a genuine interest to rebuild the nation, to give some hope to the people of this island nation?
Yes. After the war, my views about the things that happened in this country is slightly different. Actually, it was a situation where a drastic change would have been brought about with the international support, with a lot of assistance coming, and with a lot of freedom of movement, and with a lot of public support. The country would have gone in a completely new direction. Nevertheless, country did go to somewhere. It was not stagnant. We saw a lot of development activities taking place. In fact, we are witnessing them. You know, the road buildings, the connecting roads, various other projects which they condemned at one time, but now they are trying to utilize them for economic purposes for the development of the country. Those things are in place. Unfortunately, there was another thing taking place at that time. There was a lot of corruption associated with it. That was the only fault. But you take today's situation, tell me what is the development that is taking place? I don't see anything other than the rhetorics, other than what they talk every day, that something is going to happen tomorrow, next month or next year. There is nothing absolutely happening. Now take Take
You said development. Describe what development is in your eyes.
Take for example.
Is it infrastructure development that you're talking about? Is it the forming of new acts that you're talking about? What sort of development are you talking about?
Development of the country, development of the economy, development of the human society. What is happening in any sphere? None of these spheres anything is taking place. That is the unfortunate situation. Today we don't have a war. Today we don't have a impending embargo by the international. We are talking about the international support. But where is it directed to? What are we getting out of it? Now for the last 1.5 years we are talking about the GSP Plus. Now we see the Prime Minister going from country to country canvassing to get the support of the GSP Plus. What did we hear from the mouths of the politicians? They said next month, immediately after we come into power, car factories, GSP pluses, fish exports, all these things have been just simple rhetorics. Nothing has happened. Take the economic plans. Tell me one plan in place, a solid plan that is taking off for us to see and witness in this country. Not taking place. This is where the problem is. Take the corruption area. What happened to the hedging case? The biggest scam next only to the central bank scam, running into billions of monies, government monies from the banks, state banks, from the corporations, from the treasury. All these monies have gone. What have they done? The FCID did their investigations, transferred the papers to the Attorney General for their opinion. We are now told the Attorney General has now passed it on to the Bribery Commission. Papers are getting shifted from place to place. That's all we see. There is no action. We like to see those culprits being brought to books. That is not happening. Why I see a spillover of these corrupt activities from between that government and this government.
Mr. Nakon,
there is a spillover because there is a mix-up. People are all mixed up in these corrupt activities. They can't isolate themselves from the corruptions of the previous regimes completely. There is some connection somewhere. For that reason, these things will never see the light of day.
Mr. Nakon, there seems to be divisions now within the government. You have a president and a prime minister saying that they will not sell any state institutions, and then you see the governor of the central bank saying that they are ready to sell the Hambantota port and obtain $1 billion USD to stabilize and strengthen the currency.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I think we must be thankful to the man who created the Hambantota port because he has given us something to sell. I am imagining the situation, if that was not there, what are we going to sell?
Thank you very
Anuradhapura Chaitya.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sripatha Nakon, for your thoughts. Let me open the floor for questions from our journalists. Let's start off with Sadhuranga.
Thanks, Sham. Mr. Tenakon, interesting remarks there, but let me ask you a question in a more general sense. Are we a nation that forgets things? Are we going to forget the VAT when we see the Zimbabwe-Sri Lanka ODI cricket match? Are we going to forget the central bank bond scam? The list goes on and on. Are we a nation that forgets things?
Normally the human nature is that, you know, we tend to forget sooner than later. So I mean, this is a phenomenon that we have seen it all the way through. But I must tell you one thing, Chaduranga, the scams that we are seeing today, the number of corrupt activities, the list getting added on, we are coming to a day very soon, number wise, volume wise, we are going to exceed the former regime's corrupt activities very fast. We are going to overtake it. The pending list is increasing day by day. There are so many things now got added under this regime. If you call it a regime, the new government, the so-called Yahapalana government, getting added to the corrupt list and remaining unsolved. That's a very bad situation.
Mr. Dayasri, are we forgetting or are we made to forget by the people who hold the power?
Well, the people who hold the power make use of this opportunity to make us forget by delay, by neglect, by omission, so that they can, I mean, though I wouldn't blame the government alone. This is, I would say, not bipartisanship, tripartisanship, with the SLP now split into two. All these politicians are in the same gang. It's the people who are against it. It's the people, it's the media who focus this, who has brought it to this level. Now the ball is in their court. And it is from this point onwards the forgetfulness will dawn. That is what I'm afraid. That is why I'm saying give it to the Attorney General's department. That's a dead wood. Nothing will go forward. So I think the only person who is at least talking about it is the President. He has the right to talk. Though some people say that it's their commissions, it's not their commission, it's the people's right. Everything, sovereignty lies with the people, and people exercise their power through their vote. They vote for people. They voted for the UNP government because they wanted Mahinda Rajapaksa defeated. Remember Sri Lanka, the thing that we can be proudest is the fact that we have defeated terrorism, which no other country could do. And that was the great victory of 2009. It is the people who spoiled that government by calling the president Maharajuru. He got into his system. It psyched him.
Mr. Dayasri, we've been talking about the Attorney General's department a lot tonight. We also talk about we're also talking about accountability and good governance. Who is the Attorney General accountable to? I mean, if he's not doing his job, who's his boss? Who's going to call him up and tell him, hey, you, get this done?
If you remember last government, they brought the Attorney General's department under the President.
Yeah.
I think presently he's maybe under the Justice Ministry, but it doesn't matter. Still the President has the overriding power to act. And that is why he's making these speeches. Some of the speeches
because
are
the Attorney General's department is a branch of the executive.
Branch of the executive. It's a government department. I mean, he can give orders. Certainly.
So again, it comes down
but
to
you must
why is it so? If a branch of the executive is not functioning, who is the authority supervising that?
Now,
is it a committee of parliament that should be calling up the Attorney General and saying, summoning him to parliament? Maybe the consultative committee on justice.
The thing is, the Attorney General is a peculiar, elusive animal. He's protected by the Constitution, like the Auditor General. But Mr.
Dayasri, see, one of the problems that Sri Lanka has is the layers of bureaucracy.
Yes, but
we're always talking about the need to streamline bureaucracy. So, isn't it more feasible to empower the Attorney General and the Attorney General's department rather than to add more bureaucratic layers via special prosecutors? And I mean, shouldn't we be rejuvenating and empowering the institutions that we have instead of creating new institutions?
If I may answer that question comprehensively, the Attorney General is a part and parcel of the Constitution. He is, unlike any other public servant, has the right to act independently. That is what is very important. He and the Auditor General have the right, along with the Election Commissioner. Those were rights that came from the time of the Solberry Constitution. Now, what is important is his performance has depended on the individual. We had very strong Attorney Generals like Noel Gresham, Victor Tennakon. They were very people who were able to act. But now we have, over the period of time, become weaker because public servants have caved in too much to the executive. So today, you cannot talk of the independence of the Attorney General's department as in the good old days. So in that sense, if something is not happening, then there has to be some reform. Who can reform? I certainly not subscribe in the school of layers. But the President, that is why I like this presidential system. There is one person who stands above all, elected by the people. Now, if you are not elected, if you are merely representative capacity, a choice of another, then you can't have the authority to act. Here is the people's ultimate choice. He has a duty to act. My complaint is he's not acting, he's just talking. He must now get on the act, and the only way I can see is if the Attorney General's department is not effective, are we going to put everything down, roll it under the carpet, as my good friend said from the media section? Are we a nation that is going to forget this? We can't allow it, because we got to start somewhere, and this government got off to a good start by having a clean judiciary.
Mr. Das, you're also a lawyer, so I'll ask you as well the same question. Should we be empowering the institutions that we have, the prosecutorial institutions like the Attorney General's Department, and I think even the Bribery Commission has prosecutorial powers.
Yes.
So those prosecutorial institutions that are there, enshrined in the Constitution, the Attorney General's Department, should we be empowering them or adding more layers onto it?
No,
is it conducive to the functioning of a state, of a republic, when you're adding more and more bureaucracy?
No, I think I agree. Now, as we all agreed, we have an independent judiciary, something to be happy about it, right? So I think if you can, I mean, strengthen these prosecutorial institutions like Bribery Commission and Attorney General Department, and it will help to function the independent judiciary. Now, keeping the Attorney General Department under President will not going to serve that purpose. So, as Mr. Dayasri very clearly said, it's an independent constitutional body, the Attorney General Department. Over the years, it deteriorated their independency. So I think we all have to engage with the. I mean, in certain.
Who is the Attorney General accountable to? Is it
now?
Parliament?
This is a very important question. Now, when this question was asked from me in one of previous meeting, now he is being appointed by the Constitutional Council. President has to give one or two names, and then the Constitutional Council appoints. In my opinion, he is also responsible for the Constitutional Council. And also, when he is not functioning properly, if he is not functioning properly, it is our role to challenge him and file writ of mandamus in Court of Appeal to get things done. Now, I have filed few cases against Attorney General when nothing is happening against torture in this country. When the civil society records thousands of torture cases, when the Attorney General files only about 75 or 65 torture cases under 1994 Torture Act, then we have to go and challenge the Attorney General, say, okay, you have to play your role, do your role. So similarly, I mean, if you want to strengthen that position, we also have to engage and keep away from the executive. I mean, there's no way that if you keep the Attorney General Department under the President, that it will operate independently.
Mr. Dayasri, we've heard with the COPE report on the bond scam, on the alleged bond scam, we've heard so many politicians and civil society activists saying, if this goes just to the Attorney General's Department, it's going to die an unnatural death, and that you have to appoint a presidential commission. For me, the problem is that kind of lack of faith in institutions that make up our republic is very worrying, because it means that, as Sonali said earlier, we're going to be moving towards having a Donald Trump as a candidate. Maybe we've already had several, but we're going to be moving towards that kind of overzealous anti-establishmentarianism. When the institutions of the republic, when that foundation is lost. So how do you correct that? How do you get the Attorney General's Department to act on this, to act on the COPE report on the bond scam, to be more proactive, to have a bit more prosecutorial zeal?
Well, the only way you can do is to direct him by way of court order, because the Attorney General is not answerable to the President, even if the department is under him. The Attorney General has a role to play on his own, because he is a constitutionally protected animal. So that we are in a great difficulty, because end of the day, it's not layers or it's not different bodies, but are the people's aspirations being fulfilled? There are so many charges, so many evidence collected. Now, for example, take the bond scan, you don't need any evidence. All the evidence is there. And what does the joint opposition do? They go once again to the FCID. What does the FCID know about accounting when the Auditor General has given a report? Now, this is another attempt by joint opposition to delay. Whom are they helping? That is why I say this is not one party, this is bi-party, tripartisanship in trying to save culprits. Because now what we need is fast track, and we have seen with experience. Let's look at it from practical, pragmatic aspect. We've seen the Attorney General's department ineffective. So what is the alternative? You have to have a prosecutor. You can't have judges, can't be prosecutors. Judges' cases, evidence has to be presented to them. Somebody has to get on the high horse and ride it. Now, who's going to do that? I can't see in the Constitution anybody being able to drive the Attorney General. If he wants to sleep, he goes to sleep and he stays like...
Will we see a new Constitution by the end of this year, at least, Ms. Dayasri?
I don't know about that possibility, because I think the President, after making that tremendous speech, has probably got to bow down, because next time the only vote he will get may be the UNP vote. So I think he may have to go to Ranil Wickremesinghe's corner before long. That is my fear, because finally, look at the people who is appointed. If they are the defeated SLFP candidates of 2015, do you think SLFP votes are going to fall into their hands in 220 after they sit 5 years in Ranil Wickremesinghe's government? Where is he going to pick his votes up? Those are his candidates. Why? Because the electoral system is such that you can only field candidates of your party. Though Fonseca was appointed to the UNP,
do you think the President is in a very peculiar position right now?
Very difficult position. My sympathies are with him, because he makes a speech, he can't give effect to it, because he's not got a majority in Parliament, then his party is divided. And then what happens? Today, my fear is he becomes very feeble in consequence of this speech. To get elected, he might have to depend on Ranil Wickremesinghe.
Mr. Lakshan Dias, under the present government, we see a lot of very ambitious development projects being initiated, taking place. However, I'd like to juxtapose this with development of the minds of the people of Sri Lanka. We hear of a lot of cases of abortion, rape, sexual harassment, street harassment. These numbers keep increasing on a daily basis, and nothing is being done. There are no efforts, or very little effort being taken to address these issues, which will determine the future, the mindset of our nation. How do you see this stark difference between the attention given to development projects and developing the minds of the people?
No, I think I agree with you. Like, this is a one way of one thing I feel also a bit frustrated. Not only that, like even the treatment for the migrant workers, right? Especially migrant women. I think it's not up to the expectation, and the whole issue of gender imbalances. It's not up to expectation. We have a lot of expectation that government will do a lot on that, but it's rather slow in my opinion. I think again that the civil society and various activists and women's group all have to engage with the government to get, because in my opinion that those are not their priorities anymore. They may have lost those priorities. So for us, it is for us to challenge them and engage with them.
There are ministers for each of these posts. For example, Women and Children's Affairs, Foreign Employment. So what are these ministers then doing?
One of the places are really corrupted is the Foreign Employment Bureau. They are doing nothing for the migrant workers of this country, and throughout the history, the ministries like Women Affairs and Children Affairs.
You say the Foreign Employment Bureau, Mr. Das, you said that the Foreign Employment Bureau is corrupt. Do you have substantial evidence to prove this claim?
Yes. The one important thing is Out Bureau, right? This is really trafficking. Right? This is really trafficking, and then you just check licenses was given. I mean, the licenses organizations, they are claiming that a place in PETA, it's a restaurant, got the license for send people abroad, and it's a, I mean, the Minister of Foreign Employment has to look into the Foreign Employment Bureau. I'm engaged with that people. I mean, what they are doing in Saudi Arabia, there are nearly 500,000 people in Saudi Arabia. How many labor charges are there? And how many people are going on tourist visa, and they ended up in Oman and they sold out for other people. So the Foreign Employment Bureau is a state institution, but what they are doing, they are always pinpointing the licensees, and they cover up their mistakes. So I think we need very serious reforms within the Foreign Employment Bureau and the Act.
Mr. Tennakoon, you're a civil rights activist in addition to being a senior banker. How do you view this? I mean, as a country, are we so cheap to just earn off the wages, the sweat, blood and toil of our women, our mothers, our sisters working as housemaids in the Middle East? I mean, don't we know of anything else that we can do to gain foreign income?
I think there are many things that we can do about it. Unfortunately, nobody has seriously focused their attention on this issue. Now, we cannot forget this sector, because I was under the impression that it was the second largest foreign exchange earner for the country, but I was corrected that it is the first, not the second anymore. So that being the case, I think we should focus most priority attention to this area, and there are very many things that has to be done to improve their welfare and to assist them and to help them. Now we can look at other countries where this is happening. Take a look at Philippines. A Philippine housemaid or a migrant worker who works for more than 3 years in a foreign country, when they get back, there is an insurance scheme to take care of for the rest of their life. These are magic stories for our people. I don't know whether the minister has ever focused in this direction. Then we are giving innumerable concessions to foreign investors here. Foreign investors, they are bringing foreign exchange. What do these people do? They bring foreign exchange. What do they get as an extra incentive for the foreign exchange that they are remitting to this country with their hard-earned money, with their toil? Nothing.
So, Mr. Tennakoon, what's the way forward? How do we go about sorting out this issue?
We'll have to send these people home, all these big people who are in these places. Change all of them. They are all deceivers. They only talk. They don't think about the people. Take, for example, the line rooms in the tea estates. Tea, that is another very important income source to our country. Go to the tea estate and see their life standards. They are living in hell. They are living in hell. You talk of development. First you develop the human beings. That is the most important sector. What is our biggest resource in this country? The workforce. That is the biggest resource. Pay attention to that resource. It is not done.
Mr. Tennakoon, in the government's defense, the government could say that they've been in power only for 20 months. They took over from a dictatorial regime who was very self-centered and wanted to develop themselves and not the country. So it does take time. You have to give a bit of time for the government. Isn't it so?
We have to reconcile and give them time. I don't know. We have to give them time. How long, we don't know. But at least I want to say something in Sinhala. Hadena gaha depatten depatten dane.
Mr. Tennakoon,
the direction they are going, we don't see any justification in our giving them any more time, because there is nothing that they have told us or given or offered us in that direction.
Right, gentlemen, thank you very much for your thoughts in the 4 rounds that we've had so far. We're going for a short commercial break. And when we come back, it's the final round. Good governance, is it in practice? All this and more after the short commercial break. Stick it in, stay with Face the Nation.